Poon. Lamb. Lewis. Lloyd. Malachi. McLean. Murkison. Morgan. Navarez. Overton. Pasumarthi. Phillips. Rangavajula. Riley. Ravi. Rice. Ryder. Smith. Surface. Thacker. Ty.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of February 15th, 2023 as found online? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line for reports from Senate leadership. Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd is recognized to deliver a report on the Rules Committee.
Hello, everyone. Happy Election Day. So once again, Rules met at 6 p.m. last Sunday. As per usual, we got through a couple pieces of legislation, which you will find on the floor tonight. I guess secondly, we do have quite a bit of legislation to discuss tonight. I believe there's like 6 or 7 on the first reading calendar, and then roughly 4 or 5 on the second. So once again, I'm repeating, let's repeat what we did last week. Let's be expeditious, and reminder to keep questions germane to the legislation. And with that, I yield the questions.
The clerk will mark Senator Riley present. The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd? Seeing none, thank you.
And real quick, we know it's hot in here. The air conditioning's broken, and we're sorry.
We will now hear a report from the Academics Committee. Chairwoman Hyatt, you are recognized.
Hey everyone, I don't have a really big report today, but yesterday the Academics Committee met at 7:30. We didn't have any legislation to go over, and we ourselves as a committee are not hosting any initiatives in the last week. But I will reiterate what I said last Wednesday, which is that we're hoping to collaborate with the Freshman Council Academics Committee and their event next Wednesday, March 1st. I'm still waiting to hear back from them on a definite time for that event, but they think it's probably going to be like in the middle of the day, the typical tabling hours. And once again, that's going to be like a trivia event to spread awareness about academic resources on campus, and prizes will be given out. I think that's really the only update I have, and with that, I yield to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman Hyatt? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Do I have a representative from the Finance Committee? Vice Chairman Pasumarthi, you are recognized.
Hi everyone. So this week in the Finance Committee, we just went over 2 dialogues and a couple requests under $500. Something really exciting is that we've used up all of our budget for this year. So that's great. And with that, I yield my time for questions.
The Vice Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Vice Chairman Pasumarthi? Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd.
It's a great question.
Chairman Duty. Are there any more questions for the Vice Chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairman Duty, you are recognized.
Hello everyone, I hope you stayed hydrated today because it's extremely hot out. It's very big on health and safety, obviously. So last Monday was the safety walk. I actually wasn't able to go. I had somewhere else that I needed to be, but Secretary of Health and Wellness, Blake Gibbons, said it was very successful. I hope you guys watched that. He was on the news. He sent the clip into the group chat. Apparently there was a lot of good feedback. I'm hoping that we can get some of it, and I can leave that in my transition documents. But we'll see where that ends up going, because the safety walk has kind of been passed around between like who's running it for a little bit, so we're still trying to figure that out. and like delegating that responsibility. So then we discussed once again, the menstrual product dispenser that we're trying to get put up. Had some halts in the project, but Senator Koo brought up a good idea about having sororities and fraternities put in donations so we could like just fund it that way. And then if it's out, it would just be something that maybe then we resort to our budget. But the main concern is like indefinitely funding it through our like budget. Like the GSA financial advisor had some concerns about that, which I completely understand. And we're also looking at just like donations from local businesses. I know that like Belk donated to Carolina Closets or something like that. So we're just trying to get that going a little bit more before our term ends. And then there's a piece of legislation from Senator Farmer today, just getting rid of gender-specific language. I think it's a really great piece of legislation. Anyways, I yield my time to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairman Duty? Seeing none, thank you. And the clerk will mark Chairwoman Courtney McLean as present. And now we will hear a report from the Inclusion and Equity. Chairwoman McLean, you are recognized. Vice Chairman Bowie, you are recognized.
Hello, everybody. So Inclusion and Equity met Sunday on noon, and we found SBL 83 and 84 unanimously favorable. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The Vice Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Vice Chairman Bowie? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Speaker, Senator Hurd, you are recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Judiciary Committee found 2 bills favorable, and we are preparing for an interview that's coming soon with Trinity Barada. I yield to questions.
The Senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Hurd? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairwoman Tai, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Powers and Responsibilities yesterday at 7 o'clock. We didn't have interviews. We pretty much met with Blakely about the amendment her and President Board Lloyd came up with, just to discuss kind of how that would change government relations going forward if that were to go into effect, and just answering any questions or concerns that we saw on the legislation before it gets introduced to the floor. Other than that, we just went over if anybody needed any resources, tips, or if they felt like they needed interview prep, because elections are coming up. In case people don't make this cut round, you can interview in for the next Senate. So just discussing the options that they had. I yield to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman Tai? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Chairwoman Malachi, you are recognized.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. So Student Life met actually at 4:30 today. And during that time period, we kind of just recapped what our term looked like, what the year is looking like, and then what our future goals are as not only senators, but just the student body on campus and how we can continue forward. Other than that, we didn't really do too much. So with that, you have my time to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman Malachi? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairman Rangavajula, you are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. No major updates from me. One minor project that's been going on the side, I did a minor assessment or small-scale assessment of recyclable trash that's produced by a couple of labs. Hoping to meet with the heads of the labs, communicate my findings, and then try to translate that into some sort of recycling program to be done. So news on that, hopefully in the coming weeks before term ends. Other than that, this Saturday, like I mentioned last week, there is the Deputy Secretary of Sustainability's Service Saturday event where we'll be going out to 5 Points and doing some cleanup. If you haven't signed up, do encourage you to check that out. And if you have signed up, thank you so much. Hope to see you on Saturday. And with that, I yield to questions.
The Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairman Rangavajula? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Freshman Council. Are the representatives from the Freshman Council present? Seeing none, we will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Hearing none, we will now hear a report from Speaker of the Senate, Natalie Trimble. Chief of Staff Velez, you are recognized.
Okay, so if we run until 7, we're going to take a recess. So someone's going to motion for a recess. We're going to go out there while the elections results are announced, and then we will come back. So that's just kind of an overview of what's happening with that. Staff is working on transition documents for our next term. So so we're just working on that and make sure everyone's all set. And then our last Senate session will be next week, so just make sure that you're going to that to round out the year. And with that, I yield to questions.
The Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are any questions for Chief of Staff Velez? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from Student Body Vice President Maya Porzio. Chief of Staff Rivera, you are recognized. Chairman Ron-Gonvajula. Granted.
Hi, everyone. So not too many updates from the Vice President's office this week. We're going to begin reviewing swipe out applications because we just closed the application cycle for this semester for Swipe Out Hunger. So hopefully those will be distributed really soon once we review those. In addition, we want to thank everyone for coming out to the Froco Mixer. It was a great success, so thank you to all who attended. And then finally, just to close out, the Carolina Closet will be hosting a donation drive at the women's basketball game on this coming Tuesday. So just keep that on your radar. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are any questions for Chief of Staff Rivera? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from Student Body President Reedy Newton. Chief of Staff Velez, you are recognized.
Okay, so President Newton just wanted me to say that she is currently helping to brief CAB as they prepare to go to DC this weekend, so stuff for GR. And just update that the Town and Gown event is happening tomorrow from 5 to 6 at the Russell House Theater. It's a conversation on community. You guys can see it on the Instagram. It's hosted by GR with the mayor and the university president. And the conversation will be focused on parking and transportation, community safety, and health and well-being. And again, it's sponsored by Government Relations, the City Advisory Commission, and the Mayor's Advisory Council. And with that, I yield to questions.
The Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Velez? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will read?
Communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the nomination of Joseph Buckmeyer to the position of Chief Justice.
This nomination is referred to the Judiciary and Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on, are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will read? Seeing none, we are now in the motion period. Are there any consent requests or motions? Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd. There's been a motion to consider SBL 114, 89, 90, and 91 on block. Is there a second? Second. All opposed? Or without objection, so ordered. Are there any further consent requests or motions? Senator Koo. Granted. Are there any further consent requests or motions? Senator Murkison. Granted. Are there any further consent requests or motions? Seeing no more motions, is there a motion to dispense of the motion period? So moved. Is there a second? Second. Without objection, so ordered. We are now on the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will read.
SBL 11480, introduced by Senator Farmer, a bill to remove gender-specific language from the codes.
Senator Farmer is recognized to speak on this legislation.
Hello, everyone. So pretty much this just removes the language within the codes that says his or her, and also chairman or chairman, and puts it instead as their or chairperson or chairpersons. And I just thought that this should have been added earlier, so it's being added now. And then I am gonna add an amendment that essentially just fixes a few typos on my end, and I motion to add Amendment 1.
There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11480. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is added.
And I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Farmer? Seeing none, This bill is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on the call of new legislation, the clerk will read.
SPL 11486, introduced by Senator Passamarthy, a recommendation to permit the Senate Finance Committee to allocate funds to student organizations.
Senator Passamarthy is recognized to speak on this legislation.
Hi everyone. So this week, student organizations requested about $9,000, and we ended up allocating about $8,600. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Passamarthy? Seeing none, do you have a motion?
Motion to pass by acclamation.
There's been a motion to pass SBL 11486 by acclamation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. SBL 11486 is adopted. Continuing on the call of new legislation, the clerk will read.
SBL 11487, introduced by Chairwoman McLean, a resolution to acknowledge the gentrification of the Ward 1 and Wheeler Hill communities by the University of South Carolina, Columbia.
Chairwoman McLean is recognized to speak on this legislation.
Okay, so what this resolution is just to encourage the university to formally acknowledge the gentrification of Ward 1 and Wheeler Hill. What Ward 1 and Wheeler Hill were predominantly black communities that were gentrified during the urban renewal campaign. They also created the Fight the Blight, where they made it to where that the Ward 1 and the Wheeler Hill communities were the most blighted communities in Columbia, making it to where this was basically saying that communities that were underdeveloped, a lot of them did not have running water, didn't have electricity, access to telephones, and therefore they thought that with these predominantly black communities, that this would be fine to tear down and give to the university. The only people that were compensated for this were the landlords and the people that own their homes. And the people that own their homes was less than 10%, so most of the people whose land was taken for free. And many of the people that still are in Columbia, they used to live in these communities, they still have not been compensated. So this resolution is to just push the university to formally recognize the things that they have done to this community, and then also add some type of information to when we go on campus tours. So when students come, they know that XYZ building is here, but it used to be where, say, a church used to be, or where a neighborhood used to be. Just acknowledging the land that we're on, and that's really the point of this resolution. So yeah, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman McLean? Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd.
So on campus, the buildings with Ward 1, they were where Darla Moore is, where the Black PE Center is, where the Kroger Center is, and then also where Greek Village is, Strom Thurmond, and just a lot of different buildings. So kind of like more so when we pushed out of campus, because the original goal was to actually go in the opposite direction, but they saw it was cheaper to get the land where these predominantly black communities were, so they decided to go the other direction.
Are there any further questions for Chairwoman McLean? Seeing no more questions, this resolution is referred to the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Continuing on the call of new legislation, the clerk will read.
SBL 11488, introduced by Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd, a bill to restructure the Division of External Relations.
Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd is recognized to speak on this legislation.
Hello once again, everyone. So after meetings and discussions with Blakely Lively, she basically was talking to me about all these problems she found within the codes and the structure of external relations. As you may remember, external relations and cabinet as a whole was completely restructured last term. And so going into this, she was very much setting a lot of these precedents herself, and she found it to be quite impossible for one singular person to do. So essentially, this one specifically, SBL 89, and then later, which I will talk about after this, or 88, and then later I'll talk about 89, 90, 91. 89 essentially dismantles the Division of External Relations and transforms it into the Department of Government Relations, basically returning to what it was like in previous cabinets, because it is far too much work for a division secretary, at least from what Blakely was saying, to oversee both government relations as well as, I'm trying to remember. I find it. It says it's in the legislation. So that is the major thing we do, and then I'll recap the next couple ones. So for now, I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd? Seeing none, this bill is referred to the Judiciary and the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on the call of new legislation, the clerk will read.
SBL 114, 89, 90, and 91, introduced by Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd, a bill to amend the structure of the National Lobbying Agency, the State Lobbying Agency, and the Local Lobbying Agency.
Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd is recognized to speak on this legislation.
All right, so this one I have a lot more talking points on. So originally, this was introduced as a massive, like 20, almost 30-page bill. And so Natalie found it better to break it up into 4 separate bills. The first one tackling, as I said, like renaming and restructuring everything. Then these 3 subsequent bills tackle each of the individual lobbying agencies, LAN, CAT, etc. So 89, that tackles the National Lobbying Agency. It shifts their reporting to Judiciary and the Senate Powers Committee from twice every semester to just twice per term. It changes the requirement to have 3 major projects to 1 because the division secretary, she found that this year it was a really hard task to try and accomplish 3 major projects over a term. And then the National Land Report, the NLA report is due the 2nd session of February instead of the very first Senate session of the 2nd semester. And it also removes the provision requiring the report to be sent to the President of the United States. Secondly, SBL 11490 renames the local lobbying agency to the state lobbying agency because there was a mishap in the code. As 89 does, report twice per term, per term instead of semester. It also removes the requirement from having 60% of the members being from South Carolina, because this lobbying agency reports to the state assembly, to just 50%. It also shifts the size from a 10 to 15 person department to a 6 to 8, because they really struggle to fill it with 10 to 15 people. And then additionally, it edits, and instead of the state report being sent to every single member of the General Assembly, it now would edit and only require it to send to relevant members, such as the Subcommittee on Higher Education. Then last but not least, SBL 11491, essentially what was found to be wrong in a lot of this one, as well as in almost every single one of the things. I guess during restructuring last year, they mishapped and copy and paste a lot of it, because throughout most of these codes, lobbying is in fact spelled wrong. So it corrects a lot of grammatical errors such as that. And it also shifts land from 10 to 15 people to 6 to 8, because once again, there were staffing problems. I guess just to wrap it up, once again, this was, Blakely came to me, she saw a lot of problems. She had meetings with Chairwoman Ty with it, and we believe that a lot of this fixes most of the problems that are currently in the external divisions codes right now. So with that, I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd? Chairman Duty. Is this a question, Chairman Duty?
I would obviously have to talk with Blakely about it, but also that seems completely reasonable, because obviously it would be really bad if the director does all the reports at the very end of the term. Maybe doing like one due at the end of each semester or something like that would be reasonable.
Chairwoman Ty.
Yeah, right now it shifts it from 10 to 15, or it shifts from 10 to 15 to 6 to 8. Once again, I'll talk with Blakely about it, but I'm assuming she would have no opposition to that.
Are there any further questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd? Chairman Duty.
What an amazing question. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that was just left up to the discretion of the division secretary.
Point of information, projects are usually come up with through the GR survey that we had in the beginning of the term.
which is the survey used to compile the reports based off the information gotten from the survey.
Are there any further questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd? Seeing no more questions, these bills are referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on the call of new legislation, the clerk will read. Hearing none, that completes the call of new legislation. We are now on the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will read.
SBL 11479, introduced by Chairwoman Tai and Senator Rice, a recommendation to adopt a university definition and standards for prejudicial action that occurs on campus.
Chairwoman Tai and Senator Rice are recognized to speak on this legislation.
Hi, y'all. So this legislation is just a recommendation to the university in order to put something in place in case any racism or bias actions are committed on campus. All this does is really tell them, hey, this is something that's been going on. Now that the definitions have been passed, they have something more to go off of in the Title IX office. They already review cases like this anyway. This would just give them more support in order for them to be able to carry out punishments. And it will give less opposition for the staff because they currently have a lot of trouble when professors or students or faculty members do something that can be considered racially or discriminatory because they don't have a system in place. This would just give them that support, saying the students also see that there's a disparity there and this is what we recommend they do. It's not saying they have to do this, but it does give them a place to start.
Do you yield to questions?
We yield to questions.
The senators yield to questions. Are there any questions for the senators? Seeing no more questions, we shall now move to a vote on final passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of new legislation, the clerk will read.
SBL 11483, introduced by Chairwoman McLean, a resolution to address racism and bigotry that has taken place against students of color at the University of South Carolina, Columbia.
Chairwoman McLean is recognized to speak on this legislation.
Okay, hey guys. So this is to just address all of the racism and things that have gone on campus. Just letting us have a formal stance that we do not support any bigotry or racism against any students. And also in the bill, that's where I go back and kind of talk about just the different things historically that have happened against students of color. And this is just to have a formal kind of stance that we are against that on campus. And yeah, so I will yield the rest of our time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman McLean? Seeing no more questions, we shall now move to a vote on final passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of the uncontested calendar, the clerk will read.
SBL 11484, introduced by Chairwoman McLean, a resolution to urge reform within the institution of law enforcement in response to the murder of Tyree Nichols.
Chairwoman McLean is recognized to speak on this legislation.
So this legislation was in response to what happened with Tyree Nichols. A lot of students of color were having kind of concerns about police relations. This is just to show that we are in support of urging reform within law enforcement to have better relationships with not only black students on campus, but all students of color, and to allow students to feel safe. It is also just having the different things that are going on with like qualified immunity, civil forfeitures, and things that largely impact minorities, whether or not it be on campus. So this is just to formally acknowledge that, and then also just urge reform within the system to have better relations on campus, on and off campus as well. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman McLean? Senator Surface.
I would say it's both because students have interactions with police on and off campus.
Are there any further questions for Chairwoman McLean? Seeing no more questions, we shall now move to vote on final passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of the uncontested calendar, the clerk will read. It's been my understanding that SBL 11477 has been mistakenly skipped over, so we're going to go back to SBL 11477. It was tabled for 1 week last week.
SPO 11477, introduced by Senators Farmer and Ravi, a resolution to commend the Office of Substance Abuse Prevention and Education for providing a stock of fentanyl testing items.
The senators are recognized to speak on this legislation.
Hey guys, so this is pretty simple. We're just basically giving the SAPE office a thank you for providing fentanyl test strips. I guess this is the second part of the harm reduction process. First Narcan, and now we have fentanyl test strips. And both of us are looking forward to continue working with the SAPE office and excited to see what they will be offering us next. We yield to questions?
The senators yield to questions. Are there any questions for the senators? Seeing none, we will now move to a vote on final passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of the new legislation, the clerk will read. Hearing none, that completes the call of the uncontested legislation. We are now on the call of the contested calendar. Hearing none, that completes the call of the contested calendar. We are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd.
All right, so just getting up here to say, as many as you may know, next Wednesday is our last Senate session of the year. So I very much encourage everyone to finish strong and look forward to our retirement and graduation if you guys are graduating.
Do you yield to questions?
I yield the question.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd? Seeing none, thank you. Is there any senator that wishes to bring another matter of attention to the body? Chairwoman Tai.
I'll make this very quick. I'm pretty sure most folks got someplace to be. I just want to let you guys know before you guys hear the results of the election that everyone who's here, you guys have done an amazing job. Everyone who was interviewed, you guys were put here for a reason, and I believe that every single one of you guys have done what you said you were going to do and beyond. So I want everyone to be proud of themselves for what they've already done. The results of this election does not make or break you as a person. Feel free to remember that and everything that you have done in the 114th. So as you go into listening to those results, just remember that you guys have already made an impact and that you guys right now are doing everything that you guys have said you were going to do, whether you were voted in, whether you were interviewed in. You guys are still amazing. I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for Chairwoman Tai? Seeing none, thank you. Is there another senator that wishes to bring a matter of attention to the body? Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Are there any announcements from the floor? Senator Ravi.
Hi guys, last shameless plug for this semester. But I know I've talked about this a few times, but I run a writing group at Prisma Baptist, and I'm really excited to announce that our first interest meeting is this Friday, T-Cube Library at 12:30, so it's 12:30 to 1:30. So if anybody else is still interested in it and wants to join, please come. We're very excited to have you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Ravi, Chairman Duty?
So I'm probably going to make a PowerPoint presentation for the meeting, so I can send that to you. A few people said that they couldn't make it, so I've also scheduled like separate meetings with them. So there will probably be like a second meeting next Wednesday at 1 p.m. So yeah.
Are there any further questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any further announcements from the floor? Senator Bourdois.
Hello, everyone. It's the second to last beautiful week at the College of Social Work. So what's going on this week? Let's take a gander. Of course, coming up is the College of Social Work teach-in. I've been talking about this a little bit. It's On the Shoulders of Giants, from Black social work pioneers to contemporary change makers. That is on this Friday, February 24th. If you are interested in it, please let me know, and I can send you the registration link. If you're not interested, well, if you can't come, but you still want to learn a little bit about Black social workers and what they have done for our profession, then you can enter into the lobby of social work, and there are some banners that are introducing those characters and what they've done for our entire profession and career, and how they have carved the way for Black social workers to be a part of our systemically racist career. Questionable. Anyway. Coming up, we also have the Ghana dignitaries that are coming on March 2nd. It is a Wednesday, so they'll be in there meeting students. And then on March, right afterwards, March 4th, on campus in the Capstone building, it is one of the really high up rooms. I can't remember the room right now, so I'll have to check later. But we are going to be having the 66th celebration of Ghana's Independence Day, where the Second Lady of Ghana will be speaking on the power of social change and equality. It is a College of Social Work sponsored event. We are one of the sponsors, and we're really proud to be able to sponsor that. They say wear your nicest African cultural of garments and come show up. It'll be a whole free event. There'll be a dinner and everything. After that, we have, of course, our USWSA, Undergraduate Social Work Students Association, is currently planning a menstrual drive. So we'll be taking menstrual products for students in need. There is a bin in the lobby of the College of Social Work. I think it's currently stuck underneath the table somewhere that you can go and donate to students that are in need of menstrual products. It's a busy time for the College of Social Work, let me tell you. Students Against Destructive Decisions, SAD, is having Narcan training and an information session on March 2nd. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And then we also have, oh my goodness, the IFS Smith Scholarship is open. So that's for psychology students, nursing students, and social work students that are interested. I was the winner last year, and it's for any students that are interested in the betterment of children and protection against child abuse. So that is open if you're interested in that. And then finally, we having a social work book club is currently going on. The first meeting was the 21st. I'm so sorry I did not announce this sooner. But the book that they are reading is Way Down in the Hole, Race, Intimacy, and the Reproduction of Racial Ideologies in Solitary Confinement. So if you're interested in any of those topics, please let me know, and I can get you the information for the book club. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
Wow, what a week. Senator Bourdois yields to questions. Are any questions for Senator Bourdois? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any further announcements from the floor? Senator Koo.
This is my last school music announcement, so I'll make this really quick. Opera is performing tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're playing the Magic Flute. They've been working really hard. They've been having rehearsals until like 1 a.m. So it'd be really appreciate if you guys could come out. Tickets are $10. I'll send the link in the group me, and I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are any questions for Senator Koo? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any further announcements from the floor? Chairwoman McLean.
Okay, hey guys. So it's actually about to start very soon, but I'm going to be speaking at the law school about activism, movement mobilization. It starts like 6:30 and it goes until 8. So if you guys want to stop by after elections and kind of learn about activism, how to get involved, we'll also be pairing with pro-truth. Some lawyers will also be there, and then pre-law students, and it's really just open to all. And then we also have snacks and refreshments. So who doesn't love free snacks? But yeah, so again, that's going to be at 6:30, and it goes till 8. It'll be in the Karen J. Williams courtroom at the law school. So yeah, I yield the rest of the time to questions.
Chairwoman McLean yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Speaker Pro Tempore Lloyd.
Yeah, so it's like when you walk in, it's the like very first, like the big law room on the, yeah.
Are there any further questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any further announcements from the floor? Hearing none. With no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, the Senate will stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. Go cool off, guys.